Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a new Rapidi webinar about data integration. Today, we'll be diving again into the world of maximizing business synergy, and we will discuss on the Salesforce to Salesforce integration. So, I'm Sirine, I'm sales consultant at Rapidi, and I'm excited to be your host for today. Here with me, my colleague Andrea. Andrea Arseni is a data integration consultant, and she will guide you through the technical aspects of the Salesforce to Salesforce integration today. So let's start by today's agenda. So first of all, I will go through an introduction to Rapidi so that you know a little bit more about who we are and what we do. I will go through the importance of integration. Sorry, this side is Andrea. Andrea will explain the importance of integration. She will go through the Rapidi integration solution and explain in detail the Salesforce to Salesforce integration. I'll guide you through some of our customer testimonials, and I will also explain how easy you can get started with Rapidi. In the end, we always have a Q&A session, so feel free to write all of your questions and doubts in the chat, and we promise that we will go through them, all of them, one by one. So let's start with the first section about Rapidi. So at Rapidi, we have over 30 years of data integration expertise. Our journey started back then when Microsoft was still called Navision. It was a small group back then, and founder and CEO of Rapidi, who's Michael Bog, was part of that Navision Microsoft group. So this speaks a lot about our expertise in the dynamic side. We are both Salesforce and Microsoft partner. So we specialize for data integration for these major players of the tech world, but we do many other solutions, and we can integrate any variety of solutions to meet your unique business needs, of course. We do have worldwide coverage of customers through different industries, and we're offering flexible, simple, and complete solution. It's based on a cutting-edge cloud technology, which is scalable and flexible. It doesn't require any programming at all, making it really easy for anyone. And we are extremely proud of holding the 5 stars in the App Exchange rating, which speaks a lot about how happy our customers are. So at Rapidi, we are going the extra mile for our customers because we are offering an outstanding support that helps you get the best of the integration from scratch. And we also offer the post-go live support, which is included in our subscription. And this is one of the many reasons why we have these great customer references around the world. So yes, so at Rapidi, we believe that we are here to stand by you for your success. And now it's over to you, Andrea.
Perfect, thank you. So now we will talk about the importance of integration. From our perspective, we do think that any integration should be simplified and made easy. Now, the question is, why is it so important? So when you integrate two systems, you get to streamline your processes, and you are able to do that by connecting and sharing data through multiple instances. When you connect to Salesforce orgs, for example, then you have real-time data synchronization, you improve data decision-making, and end users are more productive. And of course, you do have a unified customer data view. In the end, when you have the integration up and running, you will reduce or eliminate data silos, any manual processes, or any type of communication gaps. So overall, you do enhance the customer experience. Now we'll talk about Rapidi data integration solutions. And as I mentioned before, we do think that any integration should be made easy, should be straightforward, without any type of headaches. Rapidi is an iPaaS, and Rapidi focuses on simplicity. And when we say simplicity, we refer to design, installation, and use. Rapidi is a cloud integration system that provides preconfigured templates which allow you to quickly integrate various systems. We do have a lot of experience when it comes to integrating Salesforce, the Microsoft Dynamics products, but our work is not limited to that. We can definitely work with many other systems. Speaking of systems, this would be the most common endpoints. So we work quite a lot with Salesforce, with the Microsoft Dynamics ERPs, but we also work with other systems. So for example, we can work with HubSpot, with Oracle databases, with SQL databases, and any other system that you might be using. So they have been listed here because they are the most common endpoints, and we see a high demand for them. If your system is not here, you can definitely reach out and we can discuss about it and make any recommendations about it. Now, when we talk about Rapidi, we want to highlight a few things. First would be data integration. So we can definitely integrate any system. So we have, for example, the Microsoft Dynamics ERPs. They can be cloud or on-premise, and they can be integrated with Salesforce or, for example, with the D365 Sales CRM or any other system that you have. The second point is about data replication, which again is quite common. So this happens between multiple Dynamics 365 entities or instances. So for example, between your Business Central instances or finance or any other ERP that you might have. And then another important point would be data migration. You can definitely migrate data from one system to another. In this case, for example, we can talk about Salesforce and migrating data from one Salesforce org to the other. Another example would be HubSpot to Microsoft Dynamics 365. It can be Business Central or any of the Dynamics ERPs, REST API, and many other systems. So we can definitely be flexible and work with quite a lot of systems. Now, when we talk about Salesforce to Salesforce migration or integration, we do want to mention that Rapidi is an iPaaS with no staging of your data. It's very easy to be set up. You don't need to be a technical person. And then you can connect multiple systems and companies. You can you can transfer any type of data. You can have standard, custom, or even both. And our subscriptions are all inclusive in the sense that you know from the very beginning what's included and which are the benefits. The idea is to integrate to elevate. So you are able to unify your systems via the integration, and by doing that, you are definitely more successful. Now we'll focus more on the Salesforce to Salesforce integration. So when we talk about this type of integration, there are some use cases that we see. One of them would be that where large enterprises operate across multiple business units, and therefore they have multiple Salesforce orgs. Another example would be companies that go through mergers, acquisitions, so they do need to integrate, let's say, sales data between those two Salesforce orgs. Another example would be those companies that have been acquired by other companies and they still operate independently. And of course, even though they do that, they need to share essential data with the main org. Or there's also a very common scenario where you just want to migrate from one Salesforce to another. Here we'll talk a bit about the data flows. So when you want to integrate your Salesforce orgs, then within Rapidi, you'll have a specific process in place. So in this case, for example, we have, let's say, certain record types in Salesforce org number 1. So you'll have leads, accounts, you have products, so all those records. And you want to send that information to the second Salesforce org. And you can do that via the data mapping and transformation that's being set up in Rapidi. And then the next step would be to decide what kind of action you need to have in place. You can create these new records into the second org, or you can update them, or you can do both. You can have an upsert. And then another setup which can be added would be the lookup tables. So here you can store the IDs that belong to all those records. So the IDs that are coming from the org number 1, and then on the right side, you would see all the IDs that belong to those records from the org number 2. So within Rapidi, you'll have, as I mentioned, so that data mapping, transformation, and as soon as you have that completed, you can definitely run the data flows and transfer all the data that you need from one org to another. Now, of course, before going into mappings and transformations, you do need to connect to your Salesforce orgs. So step number one always is to create a connection. It's very easy to do it. You simply click on the authorize button and that will redirect you to your Salesforce login page. You log in and then that's it. You are coming back to Rapidi and you'll see a message there saying that it has been authorized. And the next step here would be to read the full layout. So the user that has authorized the connection has access to specific objects. So then by reading the full layout, you will be able to see all those objects that the user has access to. So those objects that you can see there, you can use them for your integration purposes. So now you have the connection set up. Now you have to decide on the actions. So what do you want to do? So when you want to integrate to Salesforce orgs, you have to think, okay, do I need to create new records? Do I need to update them? Do I need to do both? So this is something that you have to decide based on your own use cases. Then next, we have step number 3, which would be mapping and transformation. So you have your connection in place, so everything is good. You have decided what you want to do. Now you simply have to map the fields that you want to use for this integration. So you can map all the fields that you need, and then as soon as you run the data flows, the data will be sent from one org to another. Of course, the mapping can be adjusted, can be changed at any point in time. Then we have step number 4, which is not mandatory, but of course it's something that's very used. So you can configure the link storages or the lookup tables, and then you will get to see the IDs of all those records. So as you can see here, they will be stored under the form of a table. And on the left side, you would see the IDs that belong to the records from the Salesforce org number 1. And then on the right side, you would see the IDs that belong to the records from the Salesforce org number 2. So they will always be displayed like this. And this table is updated at runtime. So whenever the data flow or the transfer is running and new data is being transferred over to Salesforce, this will also be updated. So this is dynamic, it's not static. So you don't need to maintain it in any way. This is something that Rapidi will do in the background. And then as soon as you are done with the previous steps, then you can set up schedules. So here you can decide how often you want data to be transferred. You can decide on a specific frequency if you want it to run every 10 minutes, half an hour, every day. And then you have to add a description, priority, if you need to have data flows as a high priority. And then you have error handling, error interval, and notify interval, so you are aware of any errors that you get while the data is being transferred to the second Salesforce org. When it comes to Salesforce integration, there are quite a few best practices. So it's important to define the integration or the migration scope. So define very well what you want to include, which are the objects, how many records, so all the details around it. Make sure that your data is clean. So it needs to be clean, tidy, and of course your orgs, they need to be aligned in terms of data structure. Make sure you have an integration plan, and part of it, you will need to have the data validation process and of course an error troubleshooting steps. So you need to have that included, so then you can make sure that while you go through testing, everything is validated accordingly. And then, of course, last but not least would be the contingency plan. In case something goes wrong, you have a plan B to go to, and then you can, fix everything and make sure that everything is running okay. Now we'll cover a bit the Rapidi key functionalities. So here we have a few. We have the data mappings and transformation. We have the real-time synchronization, customization and scalability, automated workflows, security measures, and monitoring and analytics. Now, let's take a look at the first one. So we covered this a bit, but it's important to mention that within Rapidi, you can map and transform any data without any effort between your Salesforce orgs. So we do provide support for custom fields, custom objects, and you have the flexibility that you need. And then, of course, Rapidi would offer you an intuitive data mapping interface, so you can customize your current data flows or transfers at any point in time. And we can support any type of objects, as I mentioned before. So if you're using some custom objects, but you also use the Salesforce standard ones, you can definitely use Rapidi. You don't have any limitations in terms of how many objects you have or whether they are custom or standard. Next one would be about real-time synchronization. Of course, you have the data mapping and transformation in place, but you do want to make sure that data is being transferred to the other Salesforce org. And by having the synchronization in place, you can ensure that the information is always up to date in all of your Salesforce organizations. So this means that you'll have immediate updates on leads, opportunities, customers, or any type of records. And by having this synchronization in place, you can minimize data latency and improve decision making. Another good point would be customization and scalability. So we can adapt to unique business processes and structures, and we do ensure scalability for businesses of all sizes. So it doesn't matter if you're a very small company or a huge enterprise, we can ensure that the mapping itself and the integration is suitable for you. And of course, we do provide customization based on industry-specific needs. Then next, we have automated workflows. So with Rapidi's automated workflows, you do streamline your business processes, and all those manual and repetitive tasks will be automated. So you reduce the manual effort and you minimize errors. And then, of course, you have the flexibility to customize data so that it matches your specific business requirements. Another point would be security measures. So Rapidi is committed to data security and compliance. So we do want to make sure that our customers feel safe about the way we handle their data. So we have encryption protocols, access controls, and other security features. And last but not least, we have monitoring and analytics. So Rapidi provides monitoring and analytics tools that allow you to track the integration performance. So any customer that's using Rapidi and has an ongoing integration will be able to gain insights into the data flows and see how everything is running and be able to identify bottlenecks or any issues. And by having all this full overview, all customers will be able to optimize their processes via our statistics. The next section is a sneak peek into some of the Rapidi functionalities. We have chosen a few. So here, we talked about this a bit, about the actions. So whenever you decide to set up an integration, you have to think about the actions, what you want to achieve via this integration. So in this case, for example, you can say, I want to create new records, right? So if a new account is created in my Salesforce org number 1, then the same account will need to be created in the second org. So by having this in mind, you can say, okay, the add action would be the right for me. If you want to update them, then you will be using the update, and so on and so forth. So then it's very important to decide which is the best action that you want to set up so that your data is consistent across your Salesforce orgs. A very interesting functionality would be the write back fields. So in Rapidi, you have the possibility to write back certain information. So the first example will be one of them that's called store new ID field. So this is something that allows you to store the ID of the newly created record into the source system. So that's a functionality that's being used quite a lot because it definitely keeps up to date both systems, and you can store those unique record IDs into the source system and make sure that's being referenced correctly. The second option, which is used a lot as well, is called transferred field. So this one allows you to write a timestamp, for example, a date and time field, back into the source table on each transferred record. So for example, you're transferring a new record and you want to get a confirmation on that. So this field is actually going to write back the date and time when the record has been successfully created. So it definitely gives you the confirmation that you need, and you are able to see that in real time. And next we have tags. Tags are parameters or variables that can be set up at the connection or data flow level, and it can serve multiple purposes. So the most common one is the one where you can have multiple, let's say, instances or legal entities, or multiple companies in general. And when you have multiple companies, you do want to use the same transfer. So if you are planning on transferring, let's say, accounts for all your companies, then you'll have one master transfer and then define a tag for each of your companies or instances. Like in this case, I have a separate tag. So one tag would be for the Salesforce org number 1, and then a second tag would be for Salesforce org number 2. So that's a way to differentiate between them and at the same time be able to run both of them via the same transfer. And of course, there are so many different purposes, and you just have to be creative about it, and then you'll be definitely be able to use them on your transfers. And then Rapidi in a nutshell. So Rapidi is definitely an expert when it comes to data integration, replication, and also data migration, and it has over 30 years of experience. So Rapidi is a no-code iPaaS solution and empowers businesses to simply simplify complex integrations, especially those integrations that are set up between Salesforce and the Microsoft Dynamics products. But of course, it also offers integrations between several Salesforce instances or any other systems. What Rapidi offers is a cost-effective and scalable business model, and data integration is possible for both cloud and on-premise. We have the pre-built mapping templates, which can be used at any point in time. And Rapidi stands out for its transparent pricing. We have great support and a flexible platform, which can be tailored to meet different and diverse integration needs. A very important aspect is the one that Rapidi, it's approachable for non-IT users. So as soon as you have the integration up and running via Rapidi, you don't need to be a developer or get specialized resources to maintain it. It's enough to get a basic understanding of it, and then you will be able to be independent. And in the end, it's manageable without IT resources post-go live. So anyone from the team can maintain it and can make sure that everything is running smoothly. And I think that's it. Back to you, Sirine.
Thank you very much, Andrea. So our customers consider Rapidi as an all-inclusive investment model, as it comes with a one-time implementation fee and yearly subscription, including the post-go-live support. So this means that we work with transparency from scratch. We have transparency about the cost of the project, meaning there are no hidden costs or extra costs or maintenance costs that will come later. What you get as a Rapidi customer is access to the integration platform, which is the integration configuration, advanced data toolbox. You get access to log, notification, monitoring, and the Rapidi connector, so everything you need for the platform. Then you also get access to the integration templates. As I mentioned before, we work with complete business processes that are pre-configured templates. They are based on best practices of our expertise, and they are totally customizable, and you can find detailed documentation with it. You also get access to our support so that you can maintain the integration. You can add fields to existing transfers. You have access to integration advisory so that you can also resolve the data errors. And this support, as I just mentioned, is included in the subscription. So all inclusive, all in one. So now next section is the customer testimonials. So at Rapidi, we are really happy and proud of having our happy customers. As you can see here, we are holding the 5 stars in the as an average rating on the Salesforce App Exchange. And as you may already know, this is not something that you get once. This is something you need to maintain all the time, having the customers happy and having a wonderful experience. We also have 5 stars as an average support rating through the past 5 years as our internal platform for the support. And what our customers through different geography and industry normally comment about Rapidi, that the solution is really wonderful, it works very well, and the support and customer service is fast and efficient. So that's exactly what customers require, and that's what they get. So Caleris is one of the companies that requested and needed the Salesforce to Salesforce integration, and for whom we are offering this since 2022. So they were really happy about how easy the integration is, and the tools are totally reliable. The options that we are offering that Andreea just mentioned, such as the maintenance and updates, are really a game changer, making everything like really easy for them and ensuring that the systems are always in harmony. They don't need any complex coding. So Rapidi has been essential no-code solution for them so that they can have full complete integration for the Salesforce ecosystem. So yeah, this is the reason why they are recommending Rapidi for any company who is managing multiple Salesforce instances. And now we go to the next section, which is how you can get started with us. So it's really easy. All you need to do is access the Rapidi website and go through the contact us section. You fill in some information such as your name and some ideas about the project that you have or what you need to achieve. And of course, we normally get back to you very fast and schedule a meeting to discuss and see how we can start the project together. So when we decide to start working together, we have this 5-phase approach so that we can ensure a smooth implementation process. We normally start by discovery. So our consultant will guide you through the integration project scope validation and project kickoff. When discovery is done, we move to the onboarding, which is basically onboarding you into the Rapidi platform, and Basecamp, which is the online collaboration platform that we use. Then we move to the configuration, which is the integration configuration on the Rapidi platform, of course, and end user testing. Fourth step would be the apply to production, which is the initial data synchronization, upload of historical data, and the actual cutover to the production environment. And finally, transition to support, which is the post-go live support, project closure, and transition to the operational support. So everything you need is included in the implementation process so that we make sure that the implementation goes as good as possible. So now it's time for the questions. We will go through some questions that we normally get from customers. So first of all, why should we choose Rapidi integration platform instead of using other standard integration tools?
So here we can talk about some of the reasons why you would choose Rapidi. So first of all would be transparency. So whenever you decide to sign up and work with Rapidi, then you will know from the very beginning what's included. So you will know exactly what's the scope, how everything will be done. So everything will be clear upfront. So you will not have any type of surprises afterwards. Whereas there are other standard integration tools that let's say they work more on a T&M basis. So you get a rough estimate with regards to, the project itself, the time that needs to be spent on it. So that's something that can be changed afterwards. So it means additional costs for you, and it will definitely be something that you need to take into account. The second point would be about the mapping templates. So I've talked a bit about them, and those are extremely useful because on our end, at least, you get them from the very beginning, and then you can use them. You can either use them as they are, or you can just adjust them, expand them. So it's up to you how you want to do it. So you have flexibility there. Other standard integration tools, they provide similar templates. Pre-built templates that you can use, but those templates need to be used the way they are configured. So if within a template, let's say you have a specific number of fields, then that's what you need to use. If you say, oh, but I also have custom fields that I need to include, then that would not be possible with other integration tools. So you need to move into a custom integration, not a standard one. So that's a huge difference between Rapidi and other integration tools. So you can include custom fields, custom objects within the templates, so you don't have to completely change the plan for your integration. And last but not least would be support. So as soon as you go live and your integration is up and running via Rapidi, then you also have support provided. So if you have any issues, concerns, or for example, in the live environment, you need help with something, you can reach out to our support team, which is a specialized team and can help you with any type of integration related issues. Other standard integration tools, they might or may not provide you with support. So support is not included by default in your contract. So it's something that you can have, but that would be like the first level of support. And if you don't have that either, then you will need to pay separately for it and have a separate contract to get the specialized support that you need. And we all know that you cannot go live and have an integration up and running without any possibility to reach out to support in any way or just do it yourself. So yeah, that would be the main reasons for it.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay, else we also get this question quite often. So, how to set up your data integration project in 3 steps?
So first of all, you really need to define the scope and what you want to do. So it has to be very clear what you want to achieve via the integration, and make sure that that the integration itself will mirror your business processes. And as soon as you have that clarified, then you have to connect your systems. So we have to be able to connect to them and have the right permissions. So whenever you want to build an integration, you need to have the right permissions and make sure that we can read that data from those systems. So that's a very important step. And then step number 3 is to start using the mapping templates as they are. If you can simply adjust them or just modify them and then start testing. So within the same step, you can go ahead, take the mapping templates and then make a few changes and then start testing. So that would be fast forward, I would say, in terms of project configuration and completion.
Good. Okay, so can I integrate multiple Salesforce organization without disrupting current operations?
Yeah, so you can definitely integrate them. So as many as you want. The thing here is that you definitely need to have a careful planning before you actually do that. A very important aspect here is that you need first to go ahead and use a sandbox environment for both, or how many orgs you have. So you can use a full copy of your production environments and play with that in your sandbox environment. And then you can set up the integration for both sandboxes and just go through your real use cases and see how everything is running. Another important aspect is that you have to make sure that whatever you have in your Salesforce org, number 1, matches what you have in the second one, and you don't have any kind of differences or anything that will disrupt what you are doing. And another thing that would be ideal, so that you avoid disrupting your operations, is to have like smaller increments. So you can say, okay, I'm choosing accounting contacts. I'm going to have this configured, run them, and then move them into production. So one by one or slowly, so you can monitor and you can actually have everything under control instead of just taking everything in bulk and say, let's go into production and see what happens. So you can definitely do that and have this increments until you finish everything and you have your scope covered. Another aspect, an important one, is to make sure that you have the right permissions in both Salesforce orgs, and that the users, so the users from both orgs, they match in terms of permissions and roles and everything that they have in there. Because as we all know, all records in Salesforce have an owner, so they will need to be assigned to someone. So you don't want to run into the situation where you don't have permissions or the user cannot access the record and all those situations. So yeah, short, yes, but of course you have to plan it carefully and just have this increments slowly going into that. And then as soon as you have it done, you can say that it's running and you haven't disrupted anything.
Yeah, that's clear enough. Okay, how to ensure the best data mapping?
So here, I think it's important to know very well your data. Like if we talk about Salesforce to Salesforce, of course, they will probably be very similar, but you also might have situations when in one Salesforce org, you have all kind of rules, workflows, or pick lists and that you don't have in the other Salesforce org. And the other way around. So it's good to know how the data is being structured, what kind of field types you have, and what kind of restrictions you have. Because when you will go through the integration, you do want to make sure that the data is transferred correctly and that you don't run into issues. So you need to take a look at your data, see how it looks like, how it's being structured, and make any changes in terms of that, just to make sure that they get aligned. And then afterwards, you can say, okay, I can have those mapped and I can send the data over to the other Salesforce org.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, why it's best to be prepared when handling errors?
Yeah, so I think it's good to start early in the process because you'll probably run into errors. Like that's normal, right? So it can happen that in production, one user will just add, incorrect data on one of the records. And then when the integration is running, it will fail because, the other Salesforce org will say, hey, this is not correct. I don't accept this type of value. So it rejects it. So it's important to get ready very early when you are running tests and when you're going through your use cases and see what kind of errors you get, what they mean, where do you need to go to fix them. And most of them, well, actually the majority of them are just data-related errors. So those are linked to data and how is being actually saved in any of your systems. So, and that goes back to the end users that might add incorrect information. And if that's incorrect, of course, then you'll have issues. So if you go through testing and then you also troubleshoot, you understand the errors, when you go into production, you will be really comfortable with that. You will know where to go and what to do. And you will be able to also improve your processes internally in case you see an error that keeps coming and coming. And then you can definitely make sure that you get less and less errors with regards to bad data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how does Rapidi facilitate the integration of multiple Salesforce organizations?
Well, I mean, in this case, as we covered previously, so you will have, in Rapidi, you have a mapping in place. So if you want to integrate to Salesforce orgs, you'll still have a mapping for, let's say, one mapping for accounts, one for contact, or one for orders, I don't know. So that's a mapping that you'll have there, and via that mapping, then you can transfer data to the other Salesforce org. And this is a setup that's being, completed for any type of integrations. And of course, this applies to the Salesforce to Salesforce integration as well. And the process would be similar because you also need to connect to both instances. You also need to make sure that you have a transformation in place and that the fields match and they contain the same type of data. And then, of course, testing would be the same. So testing between both Salesforce orgs, see what kind of errors you get and how everything looks in both instances. So yeah, for us, it would be straightforward. It wouldn't be very different for if like, from any other type of integration. But of course, with Salesforce, we definitely want to make sure that we do have the right permissions to access all the objects and that we can update or create records.
Mhm. Okay. I think this is the question that we get the most. Which systems does Rapidi support?
Yeah, so we talked about the most common endpoints because those are the systems for which we see a high demand. But of course, it doesn't mean that we are limited to that. And for example, we do get from customers requests to integrate systems that we haven't worked with before. And the process is that we get the request from the customer, we can evaluate that and then make any recommendations regarding that. Of course, we do work with systems that are used a lot by companies, like ERPs or CRMs. And there are so many on the market out there. And it would be impossible to say that you work with every single one of them. But I think that we are flexible and open to new requests. If, for example, there's a customer that has a system and it's not listed on that common endpoint list, then we can definitely discuss about it and see if we are able to integrate it, or if we decide to add it to our list and build support for it. It's very important to say, okay, you have this system, but is this, how much is it being used by other companies? So it has to be a specific demand for it, because if it's a system it's just for, it's being used for a low number of companies, then that would be difficult, because of course you have to put effort and time into it to integrate it. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of reaching out, because there is core functionality built. We just need to get requests and be creative about it.
Yes. Okay, so what are the cost implications of integrating multiple Salesforce orgs?
Yeah, so when you are integrating multiple Salesforce orgs, you do have to be aware of the fact that you will need specific licenses for that. And as we all know, like every Salesforce org has a specific limit in terms of the API calls that you get to use. So if you have a high volume of data that's being transferred from one org to another, then you might need to get other licenses or to pay extra for that API usage.
Okay.
So that's a cost that any company needs to take into account. And of course, separately from that, you'll have the integration in place that is being built, and that's also an additional cost. But what's different with the Salesforce to Salesforce is exactly this part about the licenses and the usage that you will need, because you'll constantly have data being transferred back and forth between the instances, and you might exceed the API calls that you get. So then if you exceed that, then you cannot create anything new in the other Salesforce, or you have to wait 24 hours to refresh the API calls and get the new number in. So that can become a bit overwhelming, and then that will lead you to paying more, more licenses and the usage. So that's something extra on top of the integration or the subscription that you are paying, for a specific iPaaS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, how does Rapidi distinguish between Salesforce migration to another Salesforce org and integrating multiple Salesforce orgs?
So in our case, if we look at the core setup, we can say the setup will be the same, more or less, because you will need a mapping. So for either it's a migration or integration, you still need a data mapping and transformation for it. The difference is that with a migration, it's a one-time thing that you do it. So you have this, full load of data from one org to another, and then you're done. And then the other one, the integration, that this is an ongoing setup. So this means that we are transferring data, but we do it constantly. So you have the synchronization that's happening, I don't know, every 10 minutes. So every time there are new records or updated ones, that will be sent over to the other Salesforce org. So we definitely work with both. So if someone wants to migrate from one Salesforce org to another, it can use Rapidi. We can set up we can have the data mapping and transformation in place for that. We can say, okay, I need to migrate accounts and contacts. So we do that. And then we have this full load. Everything is sent to the other org. And then the first org will be discontinued, right? Because you no longer need it. And then for the integration, of course, you have the same data mapping transformation, you run it, but you still keep both Salesforce orgs, everything is running back and forth. So it's still, it's something that will be maintained also by the customer moving forward, because you will go live with the integration and the data will be transferred constantly. So you need to keep an eye on how things are running and if everything is okay or not. So it's like this continuous let's say, effort or maintenance of the integration. And yeah, with the migration, is like, one time and you're done. And then there's nothing that you need to look into because it has been completed as soon as the data is moved to the other org.
Good. Okay. Do we support the custom objects?
Yes, so we do get this question quite a lot, and yeah, if you're using custom objects, custom fields, you can definitely use them. There's no limitation in terms of that. If you're using both custom objects, standard objects, you can also use them. It's just a matter of having access to them. So when you are authorizing, for example, your Salesforce connection, the user that you are using for the connection needs to have access to the custom object. If that person has access to the custom object, then you're all good. You can use them. And of course, the same thing applies to fields. If you want to set up a mapping, you can use any of the fields that you have, either custom or standard.
Okay, last question. Why should we choose Rapidi integration platform instead of building integration by ourselves?
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, if we want to be efficient, if we want to save time, money, and everything, then you would choose Rapidi, because Rapidi has proven to work great. So any integration can be set up, configured, and then you have it up and running in no time. But if you want to build something yourself, because this is like your internal project and you want to take your time to do it, and you really don't have any constraints in terms of, resources that you need to have there, or the time that you spend, or even the money that you spend on it, then you can go ahead and do it, because that's a completely different conversation. But I think that at this point, companies don't really afford that type of project that would take years to be completed, and you would spend a lot of resources there. So you do want to get value fast out of something. So then I would definitely say choose Rapidi, because then you'll definitely be able to benefit from the integration really fast.
Awesome. That was all of the questions. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, so register for future webinars. Stay tuned and save the dates. So May 7th, we have HubSpot to MS Dynamic 365 integration with a HubSpot partner. Then on May 21st, we have Salesforce to MS Dynamic 365 integration. On June 18th, we have HubSpot to MS Dynamic 365 integration. So save your spots. You have access to the link If you have any suggestion about other webinar topics, we'd be happy to know about it. So if you need any further information, you can visit our websites. If you have questions or doubts, you can contact us. We can make sure that you will get the right answers. And if you need a personalized meeting or demo or anything, like, we will definitely offer that to you. You can find solution overviews, case stories, fact sheets, documentation, anything you need also in the website. And yes, so feedback, please share some feedback with us about today's webinar. You will also see the link in the chat. We will also shortly share the slides with you, where you will also find the link. So it's always beneficial for us to know what worked for you, what helped you through our webinars, and the suggestions that we have, of course. Follow and connect with us through our social media that you can also find here. And that's it. Would like to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon.